Good morning and welcome to the Wells Online Experience. My name is Chris and I am one of the pastors here, and I am so glad you're here today because I believe God has something special He wants to do in your life. And not only in your life, but in the lives of your friends, families, and coworkers too. And so the first thing I want you to do is to share this video because I know there is someone in your life that needs to hear today's message who may be hurting and you may not even know about it, and they need to know that you care and that they are deeply loved by God. So you can share by clicking the share link, sending a text message with our live stream address, or just inviting them to our Facebook or YouTube page. Listen, you could change someone's life today with a simple share. Now, if you're new here today, a special welcome to you. We want you to know that The Well is a church in Nashua, New Hampshire that cares deeply about our city and about helping our friends and neighbors know and follow Jesus, no matter where they are. You know, here at The Well, the messages are for everyone, no matter where you are in your journey of faith. If you're a committed follower of Jesus or you're just curious about who He is, listen, you are welcome here with us. We only have one condition: no perfect people allowed. Now, we have notes for you to follow along with the message today, so you can go ahead and download them by clicking the link. And don't forget to fill out the digital connection card. Just click on that link. Listen, each week, those connection cards are specifically tailored to the Sunday message, and everyone should fill one out and take a next step. And also, you can let us know how we can pray for you. Plus, if you have any questions about our church, about the Christian faith, or just about God and life, you can let us know on that connection card as well. We love to answer those questions. Now, before we start, I want to encourage you to chat during the service, even on our live stream page or on our app. All you have to do is complete a quick registration process. And if you register today and you say hi in the chat, we're going to send you a $5 Amazon gift card. Why? Because we know you are most likely to grow spiritually in community with others, and starting to chat is a great first step. It's our investment in you. But now, sit back, follow along, and be ready to hear what God has for you today.
Hey everybody, welcome. So glad that you're with us. My name is Scott Kearney, and wanted to welcome you back to our series, Christian Atheist, where we are doing one of two things. We are exposing false Christianity, false religion, and then we're also kind of clarifying this real pathway to the way of Jesus. And as we continue through this, it just made me think, we can often struggle with a false view of the self in general, beyond religion, but we can struggle with a false view of the self. And I think it's for a couple of different reasons. Our culture tells us, on the one hand, you are very special, you're unique, there's nobody like you. And on the other hand, we're pitched all these celebrities and these kind of photoshopped images online and on social media that when we compare our life to it, we don't feel like we're all that. We feel a little bit less than. We're told you can achieve anything, and yet we look at our life in comparison to other people and we think, man, I got nothing. My life's really not that special. And so when we look at that gap between what we're pitched and what we actually see in real life, we compare all that stuff. Like what gets filled in that gap? You think depression, anxiety, discouragement, right? I mean, I don't know about you guys, but like if you wanted to go on a vacation, but you just weren't able to, and you saw someone go to the vacation of your dreams and having an awesome time, like what are you tempted to think of yourself? Oh, man, my life's just not that worth it. Like I wish I had this, but it's not. Like there's just a gap there, right? I mean, gosh, even as a pastor, for me to look at other churches and what they're doing sometimes and wish that I had that, like sometimes there's a growing gap of disappointment and discouragement. And it's really hard because we get a false view of the self when we compare to unrealistic expectations, photoshopped images, and all that kind of stuff. And sometimes what happens is we forget who we really are. And when we forget who we really are, there can be a growing gap between what we believe we are and how we actually live. So today we're going to talk about this. How do you see yourself? Like what's your identity, and how does that anchor you in terms of bridging the gap between what we say, what we believe, and how we actually live? That's what it's all about. And really what's at stake for us in this, especially for those of us who follow Jesus, is the world is watching, and they're wondering, are you who you say you are? Or are you just, do you buy into these things maybe at an intellectual level and you just live however you want the rest of your life? Well, man, we believe that Jesus wants to bridge that gap in terms of what you believe and actually how you live, who you really are. And that begins with your identity. So as we continue through the book of 1 Corinthians, Paul is going to address this issue of identity with these first century believers. And he's going to help kind of continue to expose fake Christianity and highlight this true pathway to the way of Jesus by getting right at the roots of who they think they are. So here's where we're going to go today. We're going to be in 1 Corinthians chapter 3, starting in verse 5. Paul asks this question. He goes, "What, after all, is Apollos, and what is Paul?" This goes right back to the division of chapter 1, right? You remember this, where the Corinthians were dividing over which Christian leader to follow, right? Some of them were saying, hey, I'm for Paul, I'm for this guy Apollos, I'm for Cephas. And Paul was the one who started the church in Corinth years earlier. And then he went on after starting it to go start other churches around the Mediterranean world. Apollos was this young, kind of energetic, probably incredibly articulate. He might have been your hipster with the ripped jeans, showing up at churches today that a lot of people are like, ooh, we got to follow this guy. He's kind of cool. And then others were like, no, not Paul, not Apollos. We got to go back to Cephas, which was Peter, one of the original 12. It's like, we got to follow him because he was originally with Jesus. He was the only apostle that actually walked with Jesus. And so he's the real deal. And Paul's like, guys, you're missing the whole point here. You're missing the whole point. And he gets at the root of identity. Watch this. What, after all, is Apollos? What is Paul? He says they're only servants. He's picking himself apart at this point. You tend to put us up on a pedestal. Let me destroy that pedestal right now. We are only servants through whom you came to believe, as the Lord has assigned to each his task. I planted the seed. Apollos watered it, but God has been making it grow. So neither the one who plants nor the one who waters is anything, but only God, who makes things grow. The one who plants and the one who waters have one purpose, and they will each be rewarded according to their own labor. For we are co-workers. Check out this language of identity. We are co-workers and God's servants. You are God's field, God's building. So here's the first thing that I want to kind of point out for us that we got to write down and own, right? Our identity determines our unity. Our identity determines our unity. So Paul, again, he brings it back to this division. He says, you are divided, you're following different leaders because you've completely forgot who we are. We're not anything special. We're just human beings here. And the way that you divide is because you've totally lost sense of who we are. We're just servants. We're just servants. And man, I wish that tribalism inside the church was only a first century thing, right? I mean, we are so good at this. We're so good at this. Like, if you struggle with megachurches, man, you love Francis Chan, right? Because he walked away from his megachurch and he's got this whole kind of house church thing going out in San Francisco. And so some people are like, no, I'm for Francis Chan. I'm not for some of these other megachurches. But others like, look, I want to be a little bit more relevant. I want to be younger, energetic. Like, I love kind of down to earth stuff. And so I love the Craig Rochelle's. I love the Stephen Furticks from Life Church and Elevation. Like, those guys are the ones that I connect with. And others are like, nah, like, they're not deep enough, man. They're so shallow. We need the Tim Kellers out there, the John Pipers. And some are like, no, man, Tim Keller's too liberal. Like, we got to go to the John MacArthur. We are so good at tribalism and kind of saying that we belong to certain tribes or certain people. We identify that way. And I mean, like, even if you're not a Christian, like, you understand the whole brand lifestyle. You associate with this brand or that brand or, this group or that group. Like, we divide so much because we forget who we are. We're human. And that's it. These celebrities, like, they're not close to God. Like, they're just humans. And Paul's like, let me just destroy the pedestal that we often put people on that leads to so much division. He says, we are only servants. We're not that special. We're only servants. Now, I had to ask myself, why do we do this? Why do we tend to kind of get into these tribalisms, and all these divisions? And honestly, I think it's because on the inside of us, we long to be special. And we're taking a false path towards specialness. If I can align with the way, the truth, right? If I can get to the guy that has it right, then he's special. I must be special. Man, we do this with sports teams all the time, don't we? Like the guys who get all the sports gear, the face paint, all, they go all 9 yards to be able to, identify with a particular team. But let me tell you this. Just because you got face paint on doesn't mean you're actually a part of that team. Some guys, they talk about like my team, and they talk about the offseason like they were the ones who made all the decisions and the acquisitions. And I'm like, look, man, you're just a fan. Like, you're just a fan. But man, we gravitate towards it, and sometimes we find ourselves like yelling and screaming at the TV. You know who you are, because man, like we long to experience the specialness that's on the other side. Like we want to be a part of the trophy. We want to be a part of the mega church crowd. Like we want to have the victories and the celebrations. We want that, and so we align ourselves with these things, thinking that that's how we feel special. That's how we feel special. Look, the early apostles struggled with this too. There was a moment where they were on the road and they were discussing, they were arguing with each other, and Jesus found them arguing, and he asked them this question. Check this out. Mark 9:33-35. It says, they came to Capernaum, and when he was in the house, Jesus asked them, what were you arguing about on the road? But they kept quiet because on the way they'd been arguing about who is the greatest. So stupid, right? They knew it was stupid. That's why they didn't say anything. That Jesus said, like sitting down, he called the 12 and he said to them, anyone who wants to be first must be the very last and the servant of all. He says there is a pathway to being special, but it's not coming from tribalism or hooking yourself up with what you think is celebrity and fame and status. It's actually going to come by being last and taking the identity of a servant, being a servant. They were so preoccupied with their own greatness and trying to make their life special and important that they missed completely Jesus's pathway for how to find true and lasting life. And he said it's through service. Now, look, they were narcissistic in that moment, but we have a culture right now of narcissism. Jean Twenge, she wrote a book called The Narcissism Epidemic in 2009, and this is what she talks about here, okay? This narcissistic culture. And the reason we're talking about this is because it's killing the mission of the church, and it's killing our personal joy. Watch this, watch this. She's not a Christian, but this is what she writes. She says, younger generations, they're increasingly entitled, self-obsessed, and unprepared for the realities of adult life. There's a common perception that self-esteem is key to success. You just got to think better about yourself, right? But she says, but it turns out it isn't. Nonetheless, she says, young people are just completely convinced that in order to succeed, they have to believe in themselves or go all the way to being narcissistic. It's all about you. It's all about you. And she points to things like the iPad, the iPhone, right? I, me. She talks about social media that's fed by posting your images everywhere, making sure you self-promote. We talk about, even just our identity as consumers in America. Like it's all about what you get, and all this kind of stuff. And really the image is you're the center of the universe. And as long as you keep yourself in the center of the universe, you're going to be happy. And she says, no, that's not true. There's actually a crushing expectation on you at that point. And when it's all up to you to be special in this world, and you start looking and comparing again yourself to other people, guess what happens? Man, that's where suicide rates among young teen girls is skyrocketing. That's where harming themselves is a real issue today, because they're comparing themselves to this false image that you have to be special, and they just like, man, I'm not. Look, and David Kinnaman, president of the Barna organization, he actually says that we as parents, we want to feel like our kids are special and build them up as like you're incredibly special, but sometimes we can even feed this narcissism in our parenting, right? David Kinnaman says, when it comes to finding their destiny, we feed the next generation all sorts of myths about you can achieve whatever you want, about becoming anything you dream, about finding your heart's desires most. Look, I don't care how much passion you got. If you're 5'2", you can't be an NFL linebacker. That's just, and so sometimes we don't feed them reality. We feed them a myth, and it's hurting them. It's hurting them. And so Paul is looking at his audience and he's saying, stop. Stop being so narcissistic about certain celebrity pastors. Stop being so narcissistic about yourself. Like, this isn't about us. This isn't about us. You know who this is about? This is about God and his rescue mission in this world, his love for us that he so freely gave us. He says, we're not the ones who made it grow. Like, we planted the seed, we watered it, but God was the one who made it grow. God is the one who's been doing the greatest thing of all time. He's the one who's writing the best story. In fact, he was the one who's been enthroned in the universe for all eternity, not you. He is the one who created everything that has ever existed and sustains it by his word. He alone has the power to restore it even when we broke that beautiful harmony in the relationship. He has the power to remove the blindness from our eyes to be able to see him and believe in him. That's what 2 Corinthians 4:4, Luke 24 says. He has the power over sin and death when Jesus died and rose again. He alone is the one who can break that. He has the power to produce any kind of spiritual fruit on the inside. In fact, the great things that we can do for God and his mission in this world, it's not even your credit. The Holy Spirit is the one who comes in and does that kind of work in and through you in the lives of others. Now, he's the one who started a good work, and Philippians 1:6 says he's the one who's going to bring it to completion. This isn't about you, and it's not about me. This is about God. And Paul's like, when you understand that, and you understand who you are in relation to God and his mission in this world, only then can you actually find peace that leads to unity. Again, 1 Corinthians 3:7, it says, so neither the one who plants nor the one who waters is anything, but only God who makes it grow. We're so dependent on God. I'm telling you, this whole church plant journey for me and Charity, when we walked into this thing, if there's ever been an experience that showed us that we can't do things in our own strength, we're so dependent on God, it's this. We've hit so many roadblocks and we've hit so many mysteries, so many question marks about the future. How's this all going to work? When it was just me, Charity, and Josh starting this church, we had no clue that, this was even going to take off. We were so dependent on God. God is the one who starts it. He's the one who sustains it. He's the one who completes it. And when we understand we're just servants in this, there is freedom. There is freedom. There's so much freedom. So Jesus puts it this way: when we understand our identity as servants, we're going to find lasting identity and true peace on the inside that's not going to crush us. Jesus said it in Matthew 10:39, whoever finds their life is going to lose it. In other words, this endless searching, I got to find myself, I got to be great, I got to make sure that my life is meaningful, satisfying, all this kind of stuff. He's like, whoever tries that path, you're going to lose your life in it. It's going to be crushing. It's going to be defeating. But whoever loses their life for my sake will find it. Man, you want real and lasting joy, not crushing disappointment? Understand yourself as a servant. You're a servant. That's who you are. So look, if our primary identity is one of servants, what does that actually mean for our real life, day-to-day living? Okay, well, here's the second thing I want you to write down. Jesus didn't die to free us from all danger, but to make us dangerous. He didn't die to just make you safe. He died to make you strong. He didn't die to make you just free from danger or to be in complete comfort and all that. Like, he didn't die to make you comfortable. He died to make you courageous. He wants to make you dangerous. And that means he's got a part for us to play in this. Yes, God is the one center stage, not us, but he's got a part for us to play in this. We get to partner with him in an incredibly life-giving way. Watch this. He says, Paul says, we're only servants through whom you came to believe, as the Lord has assigned each to his task. Yes, we're just servants, but he's assigned us a task. We get a part to play in this. And then later on, it says the one who plants and the one who waters. We got one purpose. We have been invited to contribute. And not just to small things, but to the most game-changing mission in all of human history, to come in and restore everything that was broken and bring people back to God. We got a part to play in that. I don't know if that blows your mind, but as one commentator said, he says, without God, we cannot. Without us, he will not. How awesome is that? We can't do anything apart from God, but God doesn't want to do things apart from us either. It's a give and take. It's a relationship here. He wants to move in and through your life, and maybe you're thinking, man, I don't know if I have a whole lot to offer, right? Maybe I'm not that special, or maybe I don't have a whole lot of time. Well, we got a lot of families right now that are contributing in our church that have at least 4 kids, 3, 2, 4 kids, something like that. They don't got a whole lot of time either, but God's using them, and He's using them to transform all sorts of lives. And if you don't think you have a whole lot to give, man, I encourage you to go look at 1 Corinthians 12. God said that, Paul actually later on, again, we're going to get to this in a couple of weeks, a couple months. He says that we're all part of the body, and we've all got a part to play. And it doesn't matter if you are visible or behind the scenes, we've all got an incredible part to play in this mission of God. And there's no one person who's more or less important. We all have to be in this in order to really experience that fullness of what He's got. So let me just paint this real quick. We want to get back to meeting weekly as a church in person on Sunday mornings, and we are targeting May 16th as that date. At our current capacity, we can't do that. But with you a part of our team, we can. And so maybe right now, God's inviting you to play a part, to identify yourself as a servant. Service, not just something you do, but something you are. And as we all kind of join in together, we can be a part of God's redeeming, restoring mission in this world. Maybe He's tapping you on the shoulder right now. And I'm telling you, when we go back weekly, we're going to make more room for people who are far from God, our friends and our neighbors who don't know Him, to come experience Him for the first time. We're going to build unity. We're going to build some momentum, and God's going to do some great things through us. So I encourage you, man, if you have your DCC, go ahead and pull it out. And in there, we're going to give you an opportunity to join one of our serve teams. And here's our invitation. Join one of our Sunday serve teams in person, and join a serve team behind the scenes during the week. Sunday mornings, you got Kids Zone and Welcome Team and the band and the tech team and the setup and teardown team, all sorts of teams that are impacting lives directly and helping create an environment for people to really encounter God. During the week, we've got a social media team starting Bible studies, a video editing and live stream team, an outreach coordination for local impact and meeting families and neighbors in their real needs in the community, and even global mission. I'm telling you right now, don't stop this live stream without checking out one of them. Not to sign up, but just to get more information. Give me more information about this, and this. Don't end this without doing that. Well, to give you a little sneak peek behind the scenes, I wanted to cue you into one of our team leaders and their story, how they got plugged into one of the teams, the vision that they have for it, and the difference that God has made in their life and in others' lives through it. So go ahead and check this video out.
Hey guys, I'm Claire Taylor. I'm the Welcome Team Leader at The Well, and I've been serving in this capacity just under 6 months, and it's been an amazing opportunity. I serve because I want everyone who walks through our doors each Sunday, whether it's, a first-time guest or a regular attendee, I want everyone who enters to feel welcome, seen, and loved, just like Jesus made everyone feel. And it's been an amazing opportunity to serve on the Welcome Team. I've made friends and formed connections that I probably never would have otherwise. It's been truly life-changing, and I am so grateful to have this opportunity. If you are interested in serving on the Welcome Team, you don't have to have very many qualifications. As long as you can say hello and hold the door open, we want you on our team. So I'd love to talk more with you if you are interested in serving, and I would love to have you on my team. So thanks for considering it, and I hope to talk with you soon.
I'm telling you, when you jump into this and you understand that God's got a part for us to play in this, man, it is game changing. Well, look, here's one of the other things about this, okay? We have got to walk into a countercultural mission. To serve, it goes against the grain, right? Because we live in this narcissistic culture, right? To serve, to get in the game, it's countercultural. It's countercultural. To get away from your life for you to actually live for other people, man, it is countercultural. Well, David Kinnaman, again, this president for the Barna organization, he's been noticing a trend on younger people for quite a while as they kind of tend to leave the church and walk away from religion and faith and Jesus and all that stuff. But he did some research over the past couple of years to try to figure out what keeps some of these younger people. What makes them resilient? What helps them actually sustain their faith and keep their faith? And this is what he said, okay? He said, look, we try, here's a barrier, right? We try to keep them insulated as church leaders, as parents. We helicopter parent them. We imagine that safety and security are kingdom values. We want them to change the world around them, but only at a reasonable distance. We like the idea of countercultural mission, but in practice here in exile, meaning an area that is increasingly secular, it's kind of terrifying. Living faithfully in Jerusalem, meaning this world of faith and the faith community, when everything is neat and predictable, it's a different animal from faithfulness in Babylon. Too many of our ministry efforts prepare people for a world that doesn't exist, undercutting our witness and passing flimsy faith to the next generation because honestly, we're too scared. He says when we protect, when we keep everyone safe and we don't get in the game, we just live reserved and consume, he says we're doing our younger generation absolutely no favors. We've got to prepare them to live a risky faith, to get involved, to actually make a difference and plug in and serve. And that's where things are really going to make a difference. I've been reading this book about some of the missionary efforts to Ecuador years and years ago. Jim Elliot and a whole bunch of people there. These were guys that had incredible promise. And, you know, when parents would look at these young kids going through high school and college, they'd be like, man, they could do whatever they wanted to. Well, these guys caught a vision for God to get in the game and to go to a place where no one had heard the gospel before. And a lot of people were looking at them and be like, you guys are stupid. Like, you're not playing it safe. Like, you're being way too risky. You're not, you know, you can do these things in a safe place. And they're like, no way. We've got to put ourselves at risk. And so this one guy, Nate Saint, was a pilot who would help them get into some of these really dangerous areas to be able to share the gospel with people. And what he would do is he'd try to keep this helicopter or this plane like really safe and, you know, the nuts and bolts and all of it. And some people would criticize and be like, hey, you're not living by faith, you know, if you're just, you know, so meticulously careful about this thing. And this is how he responded. Watch this. He says, I wouldn't be here if I wasn't trusting in the Lord. Chances are that those who shrug it off by saying, look, the Lord's going to take care of you. Don't take care of your plane in such a meticulous way. They're the same ones who would hardly expose themselves to the bacteriological risks of working in a downtown rescue mission. Tell me we don't wrestle with that. He says, forgive me if I feel a little strongly at this point. I'm concerned with safety, but I don't let it keep me from getting on with God's business. Every time I take off, I'm ready to deliver up the life I owe God. I feel we should be quick to take advantage of every possible improvement in carrying out the job before us. Have you let some things sideline you because you're playing it safe? He's saying, look, we have to get into this mission because this life is not mine. Jesus purchased it for me, and I've got to get in the game. Look, Luke 17:10 said, so you also, when you've done everything you were told to do, you should say we are unworthy servants. We've only done our duty. Jesus calls us to deny ourselves. We've got to get in the game. We can't play it safe. We've got to take it risky. And if that means taking up some of your precious time, taking up some of your energy, taking away some of your comfort, your safety, it's worth it. Because the God of the universe has invited us to play a part in the greatest story of all time. I think it's time for you to get involved. It's time for you to get involved. Paul calls us co-workers with God and God's servants, and we get to recreate the world. So what would ultimately motivate us with this? You know, what happens when we actually get in the game? Watch this, okay? Here's the third thing I want you to write down. We all prosper when we all partner. We all prosper when we all partner. Watch this. At the very end in verse 8-9, this is what Paul says. The one who plants and the one who waters, they got one purpose, right? And they will each be rewarded according to their own labor. We are co-workers in God's service. You are God's field, God's building. You know how cool that is? What he's saying in this moment is that when you decide to serve, when you get involved, when you see yourself as a servant and you've taken up that role that God has assigned uniquely for you, guess what happens? He builds you up. He cultivates you. You're like a field to God. You're like a building that he's been cultivating for a while to make really fruitful and to experience his joy. You're this building that he's creating and building up, but you're never going to experience it unless you actually serve. This is what he says in Jeremiah 29:7. He says, look, seek the peace and the prosperity of the city to which I've carried you into exile. Pray to the Lord for it, because if it prospers, you too will prosper. Meaning when you get in the game and you serve people that are outside of your comfort zone, outside of your sphere, you actually start serving, God's gonna do something in your life. He's gonna build you up. You're gonna be that field in that building that really gets to a place of fruitfulness and joy and experience like never before. In Matthew 25, he talked about these servants that he had entrusted things to, and when they came back and actually did something with what he entrusted, they actually got involved and served. The reward every single time was, well done, good and faithful servant. You've been faithful with a little bit. Now I'm going to entrust you with much. Come and enjoy your master's happiness. Do you know how beautiful that is? Sometimes, man, we fail to experience all that God has for us because we're just on the sidelines. Guys, God has so much more for you. And do you know, one of the things that keeps young people resilient in their faith is serving. Again, the Barna Research Organization identified that service is what keeps young people's faith so strong. In fact, those who identified as resilient disciples, they served 2 or 3 times as much as those who just kind of, just went to church, they kind of consumed, they just went to hear and then walked away, or, kind of came in and out of church whenever they wanted to. No, those who actually served regularly, those are the ones who have the strongest faith. So here's what I want to do. I want to invite you to consider one more team member's story here. One of our team leaders, they're going to share a story here about how they got involved and what God did to transform them, to give them a vision for something bigger than their life and the difference that it's making. So go ahead and check out this video.
Hi, I'm Grace, and I'm the live stream team lead. When Scott asked me to step up to be a team leader at the beginning of 2020, I said yes, and I had no idea what was in store in the next couple of months. And I was thrust into a position that I felt like I never signed up for, and I had no choice but to rely on God. And He's grown me in so many ways that I could never have anticipated when I accepted this role. And I want nothing more than for other people in the church to be able to experience that kind of transformation. So as live stream team lead, I will continue to serve the growing number of online attenders so that they can worship with us and hear the gospel and learn more about who we are as a church. And I'll continue to use technology to meet people where they are, even if it's on the couch in their pajamas. So if you're on the fence about serving, I urge you just take that step, because you have no idea what God will do in your life.
Guys, at the end of the day, we serve because God first served us. Jesus said, I have come not to be served, but to serve and to give my life as a ransom for many. The God of the universe left all of his comfort, all of his privilege to walk into the world of people who had rejected him so that he could serve us. Jesus ultimately dying on the cross to pay the full penalty of our sin to restore us back to God. That's how much you matter to God and what he was willing to do to serve you. And if that's true, man, why wouldn't we join him? Why wouldn't we be co-workers? Why wouldn't we see ourselves as servants, all on the same plane, none of us more special or less special than another, but all of us participating in God's redeeming this world? Maybe God wants you to join that. And maybe your first step today is just beginning a relationship with him. Maybe that's your starting place. And for others, man, maybe your starting place is you just got to get involved. I'm going to lead us in a prayer now. Then I'm going to invite you to pray along with me. And I'm going to invite God to do something special in your life as we all take a next step. So let's pray. Jesus, we just first want to acknowledge that it was because of our sin that you came into this world to serve us, because we had need. God, we were desperate. We couldn't solve the problem on our own. We had made a mess of our life and we did not believe that you existed, and yet you still came into this world. You lived for us, you died for us, and you rose again so that we could be fully restored to you, God. And we believe that today. We're sorry for the weight that caused you, the fact that you had to die for us. We acknowledge that, but we also embrace your radical forgiveness today. And maybe some of us, God, we want to begin a relationship with you, and today, God, we just want to do that by saying, I trust you, Jesus. I trust you. I trust you in all the things that you did for me. I cling to it. I accept it. I believe you today. And I don't want to do life on my own anymore. I want to love you, live for you, and join you in remaking this world. God, for others of us who are watching today, I know you're inviting us, God, to not sit on the sidelines anymore, but to experience your joy, to experience your happiness, this prosperity that you want in our life, God, by participating, by partnering with you. Give us the strength, give us the courage to take a next step and to take a risk for you the way that you risked everything for us. We love you. We thank you. In Jesus' name, amen. Guys, thanks so much for joining us today. We're going to continue our series, Christian Atheist, next week as we talk about the cultivating of our own soul, our own life, and getting deep roots on the inside that are actually going to lead us to breaking away from a hypocritical Christianity and getting to a really deeply authentic Christianity. Until then, I'm going to hand it back to our host, who's going to close us out. Have a great week. We'll see you next time.
We hope you enjoyed today's experience. And listen, don't just hear the message today, put it in action. What spiritual next step do you need to take today? Fill out your digital connection card and take that next step, or you can get information about how we can help you grow closer to God. Right now, we're going to worship through our giving, and you guys are so generous. Thank you. You know, it allows us to put into action God's transformative power by helping our friends and neighbors know Jesus, meeting real needs in our community, our city, and even all over the world. You can click Give right here on our live stream page in the info section. You can give on our website at thewellnh.org/give or by texting the $ in the amount to 84321. You can give a one-time gift or a regular gift by automating your giving. And listen, let us know how we can serve you by texting us at 97,000. We would love to hear from you. But listen, have a great week. We'll see you next Sunday, and don't plan to watch alone.